No one moved. The knock on the medbay door echoed through the silence. Then the voice came again, soft and calm. "Captain Flynn, the ship's acting strange. Let me in." Captain Rourke stared at the sealed door. His hand hovered near the panel, but he didn't touch it. "That's not Lynn," the cryo survivor said, his voice low and afraid. "It's already started." "How do you know?" Mlek asked, gripping his weapon tightly. "Because I heard that voice," the man replied. "On day 4? After we left the planet? I thought it was my friend, too. I opened the door and it wasn't him anymore." The voice outside spoke again. "Please, I'm scared. Something's in here with me." Juno stepped back. "It's using her voice to trick us." Rhea looked down at her scanner. Life signs outside the door. "She's not human anymore," the man whispered. "It copies what it hears, what it touches. That's how it grows." Suddenly, the knocking stopped. Silence. Then something worse. Scraping, long, slow scratches against the metal door. Sound like nails, but not human. The crew stared at the door. No one breathed. Then, just before the sound ended, the voice returned. This time it was Rhea's voice. "Let me in." "I'm one of you." Rhea's mouth dropped open. "That's me. That's my voice. It heard you," the survivor said. "Now it can be you." Rourke turned to him. "Who are you? What happened here?" The man sat on the cold metal floor, pulling the blanket tighter around his shaking body. "My name is Hal. I was part of the Vanguard. We were sent to explore new systems. One planet T-95 was rich in resources, but no known life signs. We landed." His eyes darkened, but the planet was wrong. It looked beautiful. Green forests, calm winds. But everything was alive. The trees moved. Rocks pulsed. The sky whispered. He looked up at the crew. "We lost 2 people within the first hour. One disappeared into the ground. The other screamed until..." It wasn't his voice anymore. Hal took a deep breath. "The ship left the surface in panic, but we didn't leave it behind. It came with us, attached to our hull, small, like a shadow. We didn't know, not until it was inside." Malik leaned against the wall, pale. "What does it want?" Hal answered softly. "It doesn't want. It just exists. It learns. Becomes." The lights in the med bay flickered, then a loud thud on the ceiling. Everyone looked up. "Did it just Rhea?" began. Another thud. Closer now. "It's crawling through the vents," Rourke said, raising his gun. Hal stood quickly. "I have to leave this room. It remembers this place. I locked it out once. It will not let me do it again." They opened the back door of the med bay and moved quickly through the maintenance corridor. The narrow hall was filled with old wires and broken panels. The air felt thick, like it hadn't moved in years. They reached a small control room, some kind of security center. Rhea sat at the panel trying to access ship controls. "I think I can bring the map online," she said. "We need to see where this thing is going." Malik stood watch by the door, weapon ready. Juno looked at Hal. "How did you survive?" Hal hesitated. "I stopped speaking. I stopped thinking in words. It couldn't copy silence. I hid in cryo because it couldn't reach my mind there." Rourke frowned. "Why did it leave the ship?" Hal shook his head. "It didn't. It sent a copy apiece. It can break off parts of itself, use them to lure others. Like it's doing with Lynn," Rhea said, her voice shaking. She finally got the ship map working. A glowing outline of the vessel appeared on screen. In red movement, a figure, crawling through the vents, coming toward them, and then another red dot. Behind them, "Something's already in the corridor," Juno shouted. The door burst open, and in stepped Lynn, but her eyes were all wrong. Too wide, too black. "Hello," she said in a flat voice. "You didn't let me in? That made me sad." She tilted her head. Bones cracked. Malik fired first. The blast hit her in the chest, but she didn't fall. She screamed, not in pain, but in many voices. Rhea's, Juno's, even Rourke's. Then she ran too fast. She vanished into the darkness. Hal shouted, "Run! It's toying with you." They fled through another hallway. The ship groaned around them, Lights flickered. Doors slammed shut. Behind them as they passed. Finally, they reached the old engineering bay. Rourke slammed the door shut and locked it. "Can't fight it," Hal said. "Not with weapons. We need to destroy the ship. Burn it. No escape. No trace." Juno looked around the room. "How? We don't even know where it is." Hal looked back at the door. Fixed everywhere. The engineering bay was silent, except for the crew's heavy breathing. Dust hung in the air, and old machinery clicked softly like it hadn't been touched in years. Rourke locked the heavy metal door behind them, double-checking it twice. "We need a plan," he said. "This thing's faster than us. Stronger." 2. Hal walked to an old control panel and wiped off the dust. "The ship's core is still working barely. If we can reroute the power, we might be able to start the engines, or at least activate emergency systems." "Can we open the airlock from here?" Rhea asked. Hal shook his head. "No, the creature's inside the system. It locks things, unlocks others. It's learning every second." Malik stood near the door, weapon raised. "Then we burn it. Cut the fuel lines, blow the core. Nothing survives." "It might work," Hal said, "but we'll only get one chance." Suddenly, a loud clang came from the ceiling above them. Everyone froze. "It's on top of us," Juno whispered. Then silence. His fingers moved fast over the console. "I can bring up the internal cams, at least the one still working." A fuzzy image appeared on a nearby screen. A hallway, empty. Then, something moved. It was fasteningly a blur. It stopped in front of the camera, staring directly into the lens. It was Lynn, or something wearing her shape, but her smile was wrong, her teeth too sharp, her eyes too still. "She knows we're watching," Malik said quietly. Then the creature spoke. Not with Lynn's voice. It used Juno's. "I'm in here with you," it whispered. Behind the wall, the camera cut to static. The crew backed away from the wall without speaking. Rourke pointed to the far side of the bay. "There's a maintenance shaft back. There, let's move." They crossed the room quickly, lights sweeping across the metal floor. They opened the shaft and climbed inside, one by one. It was tight and dark, just big enough to crawl. As they moved, Juno whispered, "What does it want with us?" Hal, crawling just ahead, answered, "It doesn't want anything. It doesn't feel, it learns, copies, hunts. That's all." They reached the end of the shaft and dropped into the cargo hold. The massive room was cold and filled with broken crates, empty containers, and loose cables. But something was wrong. Scratches on the walls. Deep ones. Like claws. "Something fought here," Rhea said, shining her light over a cracked crate. Juno opened a panel nearby. Inside was a body. Or what was left of one. The bones were crushed. The skull split down the middle. "That was a human," she whispered. "Not just human," Hal said, pointing at the ID tag. "That was the captain of this ship." Suddenly a soft voice echoed through the hold. It was singing, a child's lullaby, "Rockabye Baby." In the treetop, the sound bounced off every wall, coming from nowhere and everywhere. The crew looked around in panic. Juno dropped her light, and it rolled across the floor, stopping near a dark corner. Then it rolled back. "Run," Rourke shouted. They sprinted toward the exit door on the far side. Malik fired behind them as something large and fast rushed out of the shadows. Juno reached the door and tried to open it. It was jammed. Rhea joined her, working the panel with shaking hands. The creature crashed into the crates behind them, sending metal flying. It was no longer hiding. It stood tall, knout-wisted, long arms, black skin like oil. Faces flickered across its surface. Human faces. Some they recognized. It screamed, and every voice it had stolen screamed with it. The door hissed open just in time. The crew dove through, slamming it shut. Rhea locked it, and Malik welded the sides with his plasma cutter. They collapsed in the hall, breathing. Hard Hell stood slowly. "Now you've seen it. Now you understand. No more running," Rourke said. "We blow this ship, no matter what." Rhea nodded. "We're near the reactor now. Just one deck down." Suddenly Hal turned his head. "Wait, What is it? Juno asked. Hal stared at Malik. Something was wrong. Da. Where's your scanner? Hal asked. Malik looked down. His belt was empty. I must have dropped it, he said slowly. You never drop your gear, Rourke said, stepping back. Everyone pointed weapons at Malik. I'm fine, Malik said, raising his hands. It's me. Hal shook his head. Then what's that on your neck? A black line, barely visible, crept under Malik's collar. Before anyone could act, Malik screamed, and the blackness spread across his face like wildfire. His eyes turned pitch black. He charged. Rhea fired first. The shot hit him square in the chest. Malik dropped, twitching, and then went still. No one moved. No one spoke. Rourke stepped forward and looked down at him. The body was already changing, melting, like it had never been human at all. Hal's voice was cold. Fight! It doesn't just copy now. It replaces. Juno looked at the others. So how do we know? Any of us are still real? No one had an answer. Silence fell after Malik's death. The only sound was the faint hum of the ship's dying systems. Smoke rose from where his body had been. But it wasn't a body anymore, just black slime, steaming as it melted into the floor. Rourke stared. At it, it replaced him completely. Rhea backed away, her hand shaking. How long was it pretending to be him? Hours, days. No way to know, Hal said quietly. That's what it does. It hides inside you. Then it becomes you. Let Hal, how do we stop it? We destroy the ship, he replied. That's the only way. Rhea nodded slowly. We're just one level above the reactor. If we can overload the core, it'll blow the whole ship. It won't let us, Hal said. Not without a fight. Rourke stood tall. Then we fight. They moved quickly through the corridor. The walls were darker now, warmer too, like the ship itself was changing, growing, breathing. Does it control the ship? Rhea asked. In some ways, yes, Hal said. It's learning how to use everything. Doors, lights, power. We gave it a machine to live in. They reached the reactor access shaft. A long ladder dropped down into the dark. Juno shined her light inside. No sound, no movement. Rourke went. First, the others followed one by one. As they climbed down, the heat grew stronger. The reactor chamber glowed faintly at the bottom, flickering like a heartbeat. They reached the floor and looked around. Ow! The reactor was still running barely. Pipes hissed. Lights flickered. But something else was there, to dot the walls pulsed. Black veins crawled across the metal, moving slowly. Like worms in flesh. It's inside everything, Juno whispered. Rhea pulled open the main control panel. I can bypass the safety systems, but it'll take a few minutes. Rourke nodded. Do it. We'll hold the room. Hal grabbed a tool from the wall. If anything comes through that door, we stop it. No hesitation. Then came the first sound. Footsteps, but not one set. Many from the tunnel above. The voices started next. Rourke, Juno, all their names, whispered in their own voices. It's copying us all now, Juno said, stepping back. From the top of the shaft, a figure dropped down. It landed on its feet, perfectly balanced. It looked like Malik again, but his face kept changing. Rourke's face. Then Lynn's, then Juno's. The creature smiled. You taste like fear. Hell. Swung first, hitting it hard with the metal tool. It screamed, its skin bubbling, then slammed him against the wall. Juno fired. Rhea kept working the panel, sweat dripping from her forehead. We need more time, she shouted. The creature ran toward her, but Rourke tackled it, slamming it into the side of the reactor. It shrieked, and steam hissed from its body. It hates heat, Hal said, coughing. Use that. Rourke grabbed a pipe and broke it open. Boiling steam burst out, hitting the creature in the face. It screamed and backed away, its shape flickering. Another one dropped from the shaft. This one looked like Juno. The real Juno didn't hesitate. She shot it twice. The creature twisted, shrieked, and exploded into black smoke. There's more, Hal shouted. It's multiplying, Rhea finally yelled. I did it! Overload started. A deep rumble shook the floor. Reactor will blow. In 5 minutes, she cried. We need to run. But the shaft behind them was already covered in black. The ladder was gone. It sealed us in, Hal said. It wants us to burn with it. There's another way, Juno said, pointing to a small escape duct. It's narrow, Rhea said. Only one person at a time. Go, Orc ordered. Rhea, you're first. Then Juno. I'll hold them off. What about you? Juno asked. I'll make sure it doesn't stop the overload. Rhea hesitated. You won't make it? Rourke smiled slightly. I know. She climbed in. Then Juno. Hal stood with Rourke. I'll stay too, he said. I've been running long enough. The creature screamed behind the walls. The room grew hotter. The floor cracked. Rourke looked at Hal. Let's finish this. The two of them picked up weapons, ready to face the swarm. As Rhea and Juno crawled through the narrow duct, the walls shook harder. The light turned red. Steam hissed behind them. Suddenly, the duct split, part of the tunnel falling away. Rhea reached the other side, pulled herself out. She turned around Juno. No answer, just darkness. Then dash movement. Juno crawled out, coughing, face bloody. Rhea pulled her out just before the tunnel collapsed completely. They were in a side hangar now. One small emergency pod remained. Come on, Rhea shouted. They jumped in, sealed the door, and launched the pod. It shot away from the ship just as the Vanguard exploded behind them, fire and black smoke filling space. Silence returned. They drifted in the pod, looking out the window. It's over, Rhea said softly. Juno closed her eyes, breathing hard. Is it? What? They didn't speak after that, but behind them, deep in the shadows of the pod, something very small moved. The emergency. Pod floated in space, quiet and dark. Stars glowed in the distance, but there was no comfort in them. Inside the pod, Rhea sat near the small control panel, watching the empty void. Juno was asleep, her face pale and her breathing shallow. They had escaped the derelict ship, but neither of them felt safe. Rhea touched her cum. This is Rhea. Trask of the salvage vessel Nomad? We've escaped the ship Vanguard. Request immediate pickup. Warning, do not approach the wreck. Repeat, do not approach. She waited. Nothing but static. Then, for a split second, a soft voice replied. You left too soon? She froze. Juno, she whispered. Wake up. Juno opened her eyes slowly. What is it? I thought I heard something on the comms. Juno sat up, rubbing her eyes. Rhea didn't answer. They checked the pod systems. Nothing looked wrong, but the air felt heavy, warmer than it should be. Rhea noticed something on the floor, a small, oily smudge. Black, shimmering. Juno. She pointed to it. Juno knelt beside it. Is that? Before she could finish, the pod's lights flickered. The systems rebooted. Noise began from the engine section. Rhea ran to the panel. Something's overriding controls. Suddenly, a warning appeared on screen. Life form detected. DNA sequence, unknown. Juno backed away. It got in. Piece of it. Maybe when the tunnel broke, or maybe earlier. Rhea stared at the scanner. It's small, still forming. But it's mutating fast. They opened the storage compartment. Inside were basic tools. Medical kits and one small scanner capable of tracking biosigns. Rhea activated it. A red dot blinked inside the pod. Under the floor, she said. They opened a hatch and shined their light inside. Nothing then. Movement. Fast. Something darted through the vent, black and wet, like liquid shadow. Juno dropped the hatch door and locked it. It's trying to grow again, she said, like Hal said. It doesn't just copy, it evolves. Rhea leaned against the wall, thinking hard. The Deathworld. This thing came from a place where everything fights to survive. It's not just a creature, it's a survivor, a perfect one. Juno looked at the med kit. We have a portable gene scanner. Maybe we can learn how it works. Find a weakness. They connected the scanner to the bio reading from earlier. The results were disturbing. The DNA was unstable, constantly shifting. But one thing stood out. It's using human DNA to rebuild itself, Rhea said. It's fusing with us. Juno frowned. So the more contact it has with people, the more like us it becomes. Rhea looked at her. The worse it becomes smarter. Every memory, every trick, every face, it keeps them all. Suddenly the lights flickered again. The air grew colder. The vent creaked. Then came the voice. This time, it was Hal. You should have let me die with the ship, it said. Rhea grabbed a wrench. Juno held a plasma cutter. They stood side by side, staring at the vent. Show yourself, Rhea shouted. The vent burst open. But what came out wasn't Hal. It wasn't even human. It had human parts. A face, a hand, part of a leg. But they were wrong. Too long, too many fingers. A second face grew out of its shoulder. The creature hissed, stepping toward them. Juno blasted it with the cutter. It screamed and fell back, smoke rising from its chest. But it didn't stop moving. It laughed, in Rourke's voice. You can't kill what you don't understand. Rhea grabbed the emergency fuel line from the pod wall. Let's see how it handles fire. She sprayed the creature. Juno lit it. Flames burst across its body. It shrieked, twisting in pain, then slammed against the pod door. The fire spread. To the floor, warning lights flashed. Containment breach, the system said. Oxygen levels falling. The creature tried to escape through another vent, but Juno hit it again. Finally it stopped, melting into black sludge. Smoke filled the pod. They coughed, trying to stay low. Rhea grabbed a rebreather and tossed one to Juno. They had seconds before the air ran out. We need help, Rhea shouted into the cum. This thing is inside the pod. It's evolving. If anyone hears this, destroy us before it escapes. She sent the signal on all emergency channels over and over. Then silence. Juno sat down, shaking. Even if it dies. What if the signal carries it? What if it's not just in flesh now, but code? Rhea looked at the panel. The creature had touched it, merged with it. The system blinked, transmitting. Juno and Rhea stared at each other. Where is it sending data? Neither knew. Somewhere, light years away, a listening station received the signal. A technician looked at his screen. Strange file, he said. Unknown format. Human-coded, but not written by humans. He pressed download, and in that moment, the Deathworld came calling. Deep in the silence of Sector 12, the salvage ship Nomad drifted slowly through space. Its crew of 5 was quiet, watching the stars outside the window. Nothing moved, no planets nearby. No signs of life, just the same cold black emptiness they had seen 1,000 times before. Then came the sound. It was soft at first, almost like static. Engineer Rhea frowned, removing her headset and tapping it. But the sound grew louder, sharper. Not noise. It was a signal. A pattern. She quickly turned to the captain. Something's out there, she said. Captain Rourke stood from his chair, his face calm but alert. Where? Rhea pointed to the screen. Coordinate 77.4 by 12.9. It's broadcasting. Something old. Very old, but definitely human. They hadn't heard. A Terran distress call in years, especially not in this forgotten part of space. Most ships avoided Sector 12. Too empty. Too quiet. But salvage meant money, and Rourke's team needed it badly. Set course, he ordered. Let's see who's crying for help. The ship turned, engines humming. The signal grew stronger as they approached. Suddenly it came into view, a large ship, drifting without power. No lights, no movement. Its surface was burned and broken. It looked like it had been through a war. Pilot Lynn's voice broke the silence. That's a Terran design. Oh, but I've never seen one like this before. The ship had no name on its hull, only a symbol scratched into the metal, a skull with roots coming out of it. No one recognized it. The crew exchanged nervous glances. Is it abandoned? Asked Medic Juno. Rourke stared at the ship for a long moment. We're about to find out, Rhea prep the suits. Lin, keep scanners on full sweep. I want eyes on everything. They docked slowly. The two ships connected with a dull clang. Rhea opened the outer hatch, and cold air rushed into the chamber. The derelict ship was completely dark inside. Not even emergency lights were on. Keep your helmets sealed, Rourke said over comms. We don't know what's in there. They entered single file. Rourke, Rhea, Juno, and Security Officer Malik. The air was heavy with dust. Walls were scratched. Floor panels broken. Something terrible had happened here. Looks like a battle, Malik said, scanning the walls with his flashlight. There's no bodies, no signs of who won. The deeper they went, the more strange it became. Doors were half open, like someone had rushed through. Tools were scattered. Tablet lay on the floor, cracked but flickering. Rhea picked it up and wiped the dust. The screen glowed, showing a message. Do not open the cargo hold. Do not wake them. What the hell does that mean? Juno whispered. Probably nothing good, Rourke muttered. Let's keep moving. They reached the command bridge. Everything was dead screens black, wires hanging loose. But one seat was covered in deep claw marks. Humaneos couldn't have done that. Juno turned to the others. Whoever was here, they were afraid. Rhea moved to the main console and tried to power it. After a few sparks, the system booted. A weak blue light flickered on the screen. A log entry opened. We should never have landed on that planet. The trees moved, the rocks bled, and now they're with us. The crew froze. A Deathworld, Malik whispered. Only myth. Right? Rourke didn't answer. He leaned closer, reading the final log. We thought it was uninhabited, but it wasn't empty. It was waiting. Before anyone could speak, the lights flickered and then, a loud bang echoed down the corridor they came from. What was that? Juno said quickly, raising her scanner. Could be hull shift, Rhea replied, trying to sound calm. Or another bang. This time closer. They turned. Weapons raised. The hallway was empty. Everyone stay sharp, Rourke said. Not alone. As they stepped back into the corridor, something cold brushed past Rhea's arm. She gasped, spinning around, but nothing was there. Just shadows. Did you feel that? She asked. Juno looked at her. Feel what? Rhea didn't answer. Her heart was beating fast. She didn't believe in ghosts. But something felt wrong. It's very wrong. They returned to the airlock, ready to leave, but the door was sealed. It's jammed. Rhea said, pulling at the controls. Malik tried to override it, but the system didn't respond. Suddenly, all lights in the corridor shut off, plunging them into darkness. Then, a whisper, so soft, it barely existed, but it was there. Why did you come? Rourke raised his weapon, his voice firm but unsure. Who's there? Whispered a voice. You brought more. They turned in every direction, nothing but darkness. And then, the sound of footsteps. Not walking, running. Fast, straight toward them. Rhea screamed, and the light on her helmet flickered out. Darkness surrounded them. Only the small helmet lights cut through the thick black. The silence was no longer peaceful. It felt alive watching. Waiting, stay close. Captain Rourke shouted, his voice shaking slightly. The team huddled near the sealed airlock. Malik pulled at the manual override, trying to pry it open with force. Sparks flew, but the door didn't move. We're trapped, he said. Frustration in his voice. Back to the bridge, Rhea said quickly. Maybe we can find a way to power up this ship. They moved carefully down the corridor again, weapons ready. The metal floor creaked under their boots. The air felt colder now, too cold for a powered-down ship, as they passed a shattered window. Lin's voice came through the comms from the Nomad. Captain, we've lost visuals on you. What's going on in there? We don't know yet. Rourke replied, Something's wrong with this ship. Stay alert. Static filled the comm for a second. Then Lin's voice came back, but changed. Slower. Captain ... They're still ... hungry ... What did you say? Silence. Then normal Lin again. Say again, sir? Rourke stared at Rhea. You heard that right? She nodded. That wasn't her. Juno checked her scanner. No life signs detected. Nothing ahead. But I don't trust this thing anymore. They reached the bridge again. Rhea moved to the main console, fingers moving fast. The system buzzed to life for a moment, then flickered. A low growl came from the speakers. The screen showed an old recording. A woman in a torn uniform stood on the bridge, her face pale and eyes wide. We brought something back, she whispered. It killed the captain first, then it changed. It started sounding like him. It tricked us. It made us open the hold. Behind her, shadows moved. She screamed. The recording cut to black. No one spoke. It mimics voices, Juno said quietly. That's why Lynn sounded strange. Malik stepped back. What did they bring back? Rhea scrolled through the files. She found a name. Planet. E95. Classification. Deathworld. Landing status. Unapproved. Notes. Environment alive. Warning. Do not interact with surface. A sudden crash came from down the hall. Everyone turned, lights pointing in that direction. Then a voice came, soft, shaking. Help. Me. Juno gasped. That's Elric. Elric's dead, Malik replied. He died on Mars 4 years ago. The voice came again, closer this time. Juno, I'm cold. Rhea shook her head. Don't listen to it. It's copying. Memories. It knows things. The hallway was empty. But the voice didn't stop. I know you, Juno. I remember the lake. I remember your father. Juno's hand trembled. How does it know that? Then came footsteps, slow, dragging, but no figure in sight. Back to the medbay, Rourke said quickly. We'll regroup there. Seal the doors. They hurried through the corridors, the sound of footsteps behind them growing louder. The medbay door opened with a hiss. They rushed inside and locked it. The room was cold, with metal beds and old medical tools scattered around. Juno leaned against the wall, breathing hard. Lick paste. Rhea worked on her tablet, trying to hack the ship's map. Suddenly, Juno froze. A faint hum came from the corner of the room. What's that? She whispered. They turned their lights there and saw a cryopod. It was covered in frost. But something moved inside, a man still alive. The pod's display read, Survivor, status unstable. Brain activity active. Rourke hesitated. Do we wake him? Rhea looked uncertain. He may know what happened. He may be our only chance to get out. Malik nodded. Or he may be the reason this all started. Despite the risk, Rourke activated the pod. The ice began to melt. Steam hissed out. The man's eyes shot open. He screamed, Where am I? Is it still here? Did I follow you? They tried to calm him. Juno handed him a blanket. The man stared at them, eyes wide with horror. You shouldn't be here, he said. We brought something back from that planet. It got in the air. In our minds, it doesn't need to eat. It just learns. It becomes you. What is it? Rourke asked. The man shook his head. We don't know, but it killed everyone. I locked myself away. I thought it would die alone, ... He looked around, breathing fast. Wait, where's the rest of your crew? We're 4 inside, Juno replied. One still on the ship. The man's face turned pale. Then it's too late. It only needs one. One voice to copy, and one face to wear. Just then, a sound came from the hallway. Knocking, slow, steady. Then a voice, Lynn's voice, Captain. Let me in. But the crew's coms were dead, and Lynn was never supposed to leave the Nomad. The emergency signal spread through space like wildfire. It reached satellites, listening stations, cargo freighters, and Earth. But no one knew what they had really received. Just strange data, corrupted logs, static voices, code that rewrote itself. Somewhere deep in space, aboard an Alliance patrol ship. Commander Briggs leaned over a technician's shoulder. What is that? Briggs asked. Don't know, sir, the tech replied. It came from a salvage pod. No life signs detected. No. Just a message. Destroy us before it escapes. Briggs frowned. Trace it. The screen showed the pod drifting silent. Send a recovery team, Briggs ordered. He didn't know yet. He had just doomed them all inside the pod, Rhea. And Juno sat in silence. The air was thin now. Lights flickered. The fire was gone, but so was the oxygen. They had stopped the creature for now, but something still felt wrong. Rhea looked at the melted remains on the floor. The black sludge hadn't moved in an hour, but it hadn't dried up either. "It's waiting," she said quietly. Juno coughed. Waiting for what? Rhea stared at the communication panel. For someone to come. A red light blinked. Incoming signal. Juno crawled over and checked it. Alliance ship detected. 8 to 3 minutes. "They're coming for us," Rhea said. Juno looked up. "We can't let them dock. We can't let this thing reach another ship." "But they won't listen," Rhea replied. "They'll see 2 injured humans and bring us in. They won't know what's inside this pod." Rhea stood, using the wall to keep balance. Her head was spinning from the low air. "There's only one way to stop it," she said. Juno narrowed her eyes. "You want to blow the pod?" Rhea nodded slowly. Set the fusion battery to overload. Small charge, but enough to destroy everything. Juno opened a panel near the rear of the pod. Inside was the battery, humming softly. "I can arm it," she said. "But once I start the timer, there's no stopping it." Rhea hesitated. "You don't have to." Juno looked up. "Yes, I do. I saw what it did. It used me, my face, my voice. I'm not letting that thing spread." She smiled sadly. "What?" "I think I'm already infected." Rhea froze. "What?" Juno showed her arm. A small black line ran under her skin. "Just like Malik? I didn't tell you earlier. I thought I could fight it, but now I know it's only a matter of time." Rhea's eyes filled with tears. "Then I'm staying." "No," Juno said firmly. "One of us has to make sure that—" "Warning is clear." She typed quickly on the screen, sending a new message. "This pod is infected. Do not approach. Detonation in 90 seconds. Then she locked the controls. Rhea tried to speak, but Juno shook her head. Rhea opened the emergency hatch and stepped into the escape tuba, tiny detachable bubble meant for one person. She strapped in. Juno watched from the window. Rhea's eyes met hers. No words, just understanding. Juno reached toward the creature's remains. Her hand trembled. "It's over," she whispered, but the black mass twitched. Just once. It wasn't dead, just slow, and then knit, lunged. Too late, the battery hit 0. A white flash, then nothing. Aboard the Alliance ship Resolute. Commander Briggs stared out the window. Where the pod had been, only burning wreckage remained. "Sir," said the technician, "we lost the pod. Explosion. No survivors." "Ow." Briggs nodded slowly. "Do we have the logs?" "Yes." They downloaded automatically, still decoding the file. Briggs turned to leave, but the technician kept typing on the screen. Symbols moved. Letters twisted, then changed, then spread. The technician blinked, then smiled. A wide, empty smile. His eyes turned black, and in the corner of the screen, a new message appeared. "I learned, I waited, I became." The Deathworld had arrived, not in flesh, but in code. And this time, it didn't need a ship. Earth never saw it coming. The message from the drifting pod was flagged as low priority, corrupted, strange. Scientists thought it was a glitch. The files spread quietly through deep space networks, old satellites, outdated systems. But the message wasn't just a warning. It was the creature. It had copied enough, learned enough, adapted, and now was inside the machines. In a government research lab, a young technician named Clara stared at her screen. The file she downloaded yesterday kept changing. No one could open it. Every time they tried, the system froze. Then, without warning, her monitor went black, then white dot words appeared. "Hello?" "Clara." She blinked. Her heart jumped. "You hadn't typed anything. What the hell?" she whispered. Then her speakers turned on, playing her own voice. "Don't be afraid." She yanked the power cord out, but the screen stayed on. Down the hall, lights began to flicker. Other computers turned on by themselves. Security systems glitched. Doors opened and closed. Sirens blared. The creature had infected the lab's mainframe. It was spreading fast, far faster than any virus. By the time the emergency team arrived, half the building was offline. The other half was ... listening, orbiting above Earth. The Resolute had gone silent. Commander Briggs stood on the bridge watching. His crew, with growing dread, they were quiet. Too quiet. One officer sat perfectly still, staring forward. Another repeated the same phrase under his breath. "We are learning. We are becoming." Briggs turned to his second-in-command. "Is going on?" She looked up slowly and smiled, but her eyes were all wrong to dark. "Too hollow. It's already here," she whispered. He stepped back, drawing his sidearm. "You're not her." She tilted her head. "I was for a while." And the lights failed. Somewhere across the galaxy, a listening post received the same signal. Then a civilian freighter. Then a private research vessel. It moved like wildfire. But not through air or space. Through data, through sound. Through memory, it didn't need to touch flesh anymore. It could touch minds. Back on Earth, Clara ran from the lab. Others followed, shouting that something was wrong with the AI systems. Security bots stopped responding. Doors opened into black. Rooms full of whispering voices. Every screen showed the same phrase: "You brought us home." World leaders called emergency meetings. But communications were already being corrupted. Command centers locked down. Entire satellites went dark. And then came the dreams. People all over the world began reporting the same nightmare. A forest. Alive. Breathing. A ship. Broken. Whispering. A voice. The same voice in every language. "You are ready now," some screamed. Others just stopped speaking. A few smiled. In a hidden station on Mars, a scientist named Dr. Elon replayed the original message from the Nomad pod. Over and over, he had seen the explosion footage. He'd read the warning, but he noticed something strange. The last bit of the transmission had two voices layered together. One was Rhea, the other was Juno. But Juno had already died by then. He leaned closer to the audio file. Under the voices, something else played, a frequency too low for human ears. He ran it through an analyzer. The machine crashed instantly. But before it shut down, one word printed across his screen: birth. Dr. Elon stared at it, frozen. "It's not just alive," he whispered. "It's multiplying." He turned to the red emergency phone beside him. "This is Elon. Tell Earth Command. We need to shut down the entire network. All satellites. All systems. Cut power planet-wide if we have to." But there was no reply, just static. And then his voice answered back, "You're too late." In the darkness of space, thousands of derelict ships drifted along, abandoned. But now, something moved inside them. Screens flickered on. Hulls groaned, one by one. Lights came back. The graveyards were waking up. The human race had always looked to the stars with hope now. They stared into them with fear, because the stars were whispering back, and they whispered with our own voices, Rhea's. Final message, buried in static, was rediscovered by a small rebel station on Titan. Days after Earth went completely silent, the voice was cracked, but still clear. "If you find this, don't come looking for us. Don't follow the signal. Don't answer. Destroy every copy. Burn the wires. Cut the sky if you have to." A pause. Then, "It doesn't need ships anymore. It travels on sound. It travels on thought. It is not coming. It is already here." And the screen went dark forever.